Hey guys, my name is Larry with More Light Electric. I am a master electrician with 20 years of experience. I'm making a video today for anybody out there who's in the market for a house, so you know what kind of investment you're looking into making into your electrical system based on the age of the home. Okay, I'm going to rank these from lowest investment to highest. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Anything 1980s to today. Okay, obviously the closer you get to the 80s, you're going to have more maintenance costs, and those maintenance costs are going to include replacement breaker panels, switches, outlets, smoke alarms, things like that. But aside from that, a house built in the 1980s typically is only going to need a few things to bring it up to modern safety standards. And what we're looking at there is mostly going to be ground fault protection and arc fault protection. After that, let's say you could probably use larger circuits for your bathrooms, but you're in pretty good shape there. Maybe consider a 4-wire dryer or range circuit if you have the old 3-wire stuff. But once again, you're going to be in pretty good shape there. After that, we're going to be looking at houses in the 50s and 60s. So these houses a lot of times are going to have ungrounded systems or undergrounded systems. And what I mean by undergrounded is even though there's a physical ground there, the ground wire is not sized appropriately to actually give you the fault current protection that you need. Okay, so these aren't necessarily going to need a rewire. I don't typically recommend it in houses this age, but what I will recommend is adding ground fault protection. Now, if you add that ground fault protection, that's going to give you a very similar protection to actually having a physical ground, but just does it in a different way. You could probably use a couple more circuits in this one too, maybe some kitchen circuits, appliance circuits, things like that. Everything mentioned in the other previous, newer houses. All those maintenance costs for sure. But these typically aren't too bad. Ones that you are probably going to want to stay away from, starting in the late 60s to 70s, we had a lot of aluminum wiring going in. Now, aluminum wiring, I'm typically going to recommend a rewire on. The only reason I don't make that one dead last is because you do have some options to make that safer, and that's going to include installing Alumicons, which is typically going to be a little bit of an ordeal because it's typically going to involve not only replacing all the switches and outlets, but pulling those switch and outlet boxes out, replacing them with a larger box that will actually fit the Alumicon connectors. So putting these larger boxes in, putting in the connectors, pigtailing, and doing all the devices. And on top of that, you're definitely going to want arc fault protection. I 100% recommend arc fault protection if you have aluminum wiring in your home. So rewire if you can. I understand if it's not in the budget, do what you can to make it safe. The very last one on the list is going to be most expensive because you really don't have a lot of options with it, and that's going to be anything 1940s and later, or earlier rather. It's going to be mostly knob and tube wiring or type BX wiring. These are ungrounded systems. They are typically going to be falling apart. You try to replace an outlet and the insulation falls right off of it. Next thing you know, you've got to replace wiring all the way back to the panel. There's really not a lot you can do with those systems. They're virtually irreparable. So if you are in the market for a house, those are some things you might want to consider as far as your electrical system. Obviously, you've got a lot more to consider than that, but those are just heads up as to what cost you might look into.